Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make an absolutely delicious entree. It's chicken with mushrooms and garlic sauce, and a whole lot more. I think you're really going to like this dish. It's easy to make, it has very healthy ingredients, so come on, let's cook. So here are the ingredients we're going to use for our chicken with mushroom and garlic sauce. First of all, we're going to use 3 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken. Now you can see the chicken needs a little bit of a trimming, but not much. We're going to use 16 ounces of baby Bella mushrooms. If you can only get white mushrooms, that's just fine, but I love that earthy baby Bella taste. I'm going to use 2 shallots, and if you can't get shallots in your area, using onions is just fine too. We're just going to cut them a little fine because the shallots aren't supposed to stand out. They're just supposed to add a little bit of flavor to the dish. We're going to use half a head of garlic. We're going to crush that up. We're going to use a tablespoon of fresh rosemary, a tablespoon of fresh parsley, and a tablespoon of fresh oregano. Now, if you can't get the fresh herbs, then you're certainly welcome to use 1 tablespoon of the dried Italian seasonings. Just go a little bit light the first time you make this with the dried Italian seasonings because they can be very potent. I'm going to use 2 celery stalks. We're going to slice those up really fine. A cup of chicken broth. Now you can either use a store-bought chicken broth or you can use your own chicken broth. And I do have a recipe on stepbystepchef.com for making your own fresh chicken broth. And it's absolutely delicious. One thing about these store-bought chicken broths, and I am not plugging this brand, but make sure that you find one that tastes good because some of them can fall pretty flat. We're also going to use a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of starch, of cornstarch. And that's going to thicken up the sauce that we're making for the chicken. So let me show you how to put this together. So the first thing we're going to do is take the chicken and just see if it needs much of a trimming. And these little fatty pieces, yeah, let's trim those off. And just discard those. And then what I want to do is just cut it into slices. These slices are about 1 inch thick. And we're going to brown the chicken like this. And the reason I'm doing this is I really want to get a lot of that sauce on the chicken. It's going to be that delicious. Another option is to just take the chicken breasts and bake them in an oven preheated at 350 and bake them for about, my oven it usually takes about 35 to 40 minutes to get it done, whole chicken breasts. So just do it as long as it takes to cook it all the way through. So baking the chicken breasts is perfectly okay too. But I just love this dish where I can really taste the sauce on the chicken breast. So I'm just going through again and cutting it into these inch thick strips. And I'll do this for all of the chicken breasts. And I'll see you when I'm done with that. And we'll start on the sauce. Okay, so I just want to let you know, here's one thing I did that was not on camera. It's kind of exciting. I actually washed my hands because I was working with the chicken and this cutting board in hot, soapy water. Hot, soapy water is your friend in the kitchen, as is rinsing it off. Certainly I rinsed it off of everything too. I don't get sick very often, and I really credit a lot of it to cooking my own food and keeping every surface clean. So remember, hot, soapy water is our friend. So now what we're going to do is just cut up our veggies. And these are our baby bellas. They've been rinsed off and towel dried. And I'm just cutting them into about these half-inch thick, quarter to half-inch thick slices. And just putting them into the bowl. And this bowl that I'm preparing like this, that's where all of our veggies that are going to be sautéed are going to go. And then I have this other bowl that we're going to use for our liquid ingredients. So I'm just going to take our 16 ounces of baby bellas and just give them a chop like this. And you don't want these pieces too small because as they saute, they're going to get smaller anyways, and you don't want them to disappear in the dish. So for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to make you watch me cut all of these. I'll see you in a moment. And next up is our 2 celery stalks. I'm just taking the cut end off. And we're certainly not going to use this end either. And then all I'm going to do is slice up the middle, bisect the pieces, because I really don't want huge pieces of celery in our sauce. Oops, there we go. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut it about 1/8 of an inch thick. And then we'll just put the celery in, right in with the mushrooms. They'll get along. And now we'll chop our shallots. Again, you can use onion if you want, and you'd probably use about a 1/4 cup of sliced onion. Just don't leave the onion pieces really big. You don't want people to be eating, fork loads of onions in this dish. So I'm just cutting the ends off and then taking off the wrapper. And then I'm just going to cut this razor thin, just so you can see. So it's very, very thin, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less. And the thing about shallots that I like is just that they hold together in these cool discs. And even when you cook them, sometimes they'll keep that shape too. Well, I lost the disc on that, but the flavor will be there. So there you go. And I'm going to do that same thing with the second shallot and put it in with the mushrooms and celery. Woo! Gotta be honest with you. Those shallots, wow, they were potent. I'm like crying, and I'm not going to show it to you because I don't want to show up all over the internet crying. But those were really strong. So if you're cutting shallots or onions, please feel free to wear glasses. Keep those essential oils out of your eyes. And what we're doing now is just taking the herbs off of their stems. I really don't like stemmy herbs in my dishes. And then we're just going to give them a little bit of a mince. And I'm just going to mince these all together. I don't have so many herbs that I have to do each one separately. So again, we have our parsley, our fresh oregano, and our rosemary. And if you can't get a hold of these, then go ahead and use, I guess about a teaspoon or so of dried Italian seasonings. But be judicious with it because they can really take over a meal. They're very potent. And if you have the wherewithal, growing fresh herbs in your house, it's worth it. You'll be an amazing cook just because the fresh herbs can really uplift a dish, and it's just worth the investment. It doesn't take that much to grow them. And again, just that flavor just really can make a dish taste very different. In some areas you can also buy packaged fresh herbs too, which is just as good as these fresh ones that I grow myself. But you really do notice the difference in a dish. And here's our rosemary. So we did our parsley and oregano. Here's the rosemary. And I wish you could smell this rich aroma. Don't be afraid of fresh herbs. They're pretty tough. And they can handle whatever you throw at them. They can handle it. So now I'm just giving them a little bit of a mince. And I didn't go overboard on the herbs in this dish because I really wanted you to be able to taste the garlic too. I really wanted a nice melding of that mushroom taste, the garlic taste, the shallots. And the herbs can easily just dominate a dish. I even want you to be able to taste the black pepper too. But these give a nice twist, a nice fresh twist to this dish. There's something about fresh herbs. That aroma is absolutely intoxicating. And I'm just putting these in a separate bowl, and I'm going to squeeze the garlic into this bowl too, because I want these ingredients to go in just slightly later in the sautéing process of the mushrooms, the shallots, and the celery. They can just be a little bit more delicate. And here's our garlic. And you can add more or less garlic than I do. And I know some people don't like garlic. You can certainly, you can skip the garlic if you want. We can still be friends. But I absolutely love garlic. And in this dish, it's one of the dominant tastes. It just gives it a nice, rich taste. But that said, there is enough taste from the mushrooms, the shallots, the celery, and the herbs to still pick it up plenty. So that's totally up to you. And you know, I'm sure there are some people out there who are garlic nuts like I am, and they're going to add more garlic than I do. So it's just totally up to you. And this is about half of this head of garlic. I might have cheated a little bit and added some more. Don't tell anybody. But that's it. That's the garlic we're going to use. Now, if you have one of these crushers, use it. These crushers are great. If you're a garlic lover, you have to have one of these. You just do. Because it just takes the essential garlic flesh and brings out those oils. If you don't have one of these, just mince it really fine and the flavors will still come out. It's totally up to you. And I do not own stock in these garlic crushing companies. I wish I did, but I don't. Because you're going to see this garlic crush in an awful lot of my step-by-step chef videos. Not everyone. And I do always offer that option of not adding garlic at all. So don't feel like if you watch the other 100 plus videos that you're going to have garlic in every dish. You won't. But as a garlic lover, you will see it a lot in the meals that I eat. And that's one thing about the Step-by-Step Chef series is these are meals I actually eat. This isn't stuff where I did research and I kind of hung around the house and then I asked people, well, this one's kind of dry. I asked people, hey, do you like that? No, this is stuff I actually eat and stuff I enjoy. And the people in my life enjoy it too. Wow, that was one dry piece of garlic. Here we go. This one should be fine. Oops, let me get rid of the... to get rid of that dried garlic that was in there. There we go, that's more like it. Okay, so there's our herbs and garlic. And now let's put our wet ingredients in this bowl. So we have our 1 cup of chicken broth, our 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is a thickener. Our black pepper. And our salt. And then let's just stir this up. And I like to do this separate when possible because the starch can clump. And this is a way of ensuring that people don't get a clump of cornstarch in their dish. So this looks very light, but I guarantee you when it's combined with the liquid from the chicken, the mushroom, the shallots, and the celery, it'll come out with a nice color. Okay, so now I'm going to meet you over at the stove. Okay, so here's the pan that we're going to prepare the chicken in. So let's just add a tablespoon of vegetable oil. And then we'll just put the chicken in there to brown it. And this will probably take about 10 to 15 minutes. These slices are not that thick. And we'll turn frequently. And if you have to do this in 2 sets, that's fine. Just set the first set of browned chicken aside. depending on what size pan you have. We have our nice little chicken cutlets. So I am going to brown these and then and put the fresh chicken into the refrigerator so it can wait, and then I'll brown that. So we'll get all this browned up together. And I've had this pan preheating over just under medium heat. Put a tablespoon of vegetable oil in there. And then let's start sauteing our vegetables. And while this is going on, make sure to turn those chicken pieces occasionally too. You don't want them to just cook on one side. We want them to cook through. There we go. So these are going to saute. It should take about 10 minutes. And then we'll add the garlic and the herbs to it. Stir those in. And then we'll add the liquid ingredients. So I'm just going to saute these and keep turning the chicken until that's browned. And then I'll add the next run of chicken and brown that up too. So I'll be right back. So here's our chicken. You can see it's getting white on the side that's cooking. And I'm just going to turn this over. It's getting a little bit of a brownness to it. That's what we're looking for. And this took about 5 minutes, and again, it depends on your stove. This pan was preheated at medium, and this is what we do with the first set. So we're just going to cook these through, put them in a clean plate, and then cook through the rest of the chicken. Do the exact same thing. We'll brown up the rest of the chicken. And again, while we're doing this, we're going to keep tending to the mushrooms, the celery, and the shallots. We'll keep giving those a stir too as they're sauteing. And here we are. It's 15 minutes later. This chicken is browned. It's all cooked through. I don't see any pink parts on it, so I know it's cooked through. And I'm going to take it out and put it into this clean plate. And then I'm going to repeat that same browning process with the other chicken that I put in the refrigerator. And here we are back over at our mushrooms, celery, and shallots. And you can see it's all cooking down quite nicely. And the mushrooms are getting small enough, and I'm seeing some translucence in the celery and the shallots. They're getting a little bit clear. So I'm going to add the garlic and herbs. And again, this took about 10 minutes to get this to cook down to this point. So let's stir in these garlic and herbs. Wow, that is a delicious, delicious mix. And what I'm going to do is just saute the garlic and herbs for about 2 minutes with this mix. And then we're going to add our chicken broth mix. And make sure to stir this because you don't want the garlic to caramelize. And that can happen very quickly. So just kind of stir it in. And while you're doing this, remember, you have to turn that chicken over about every 3 to 5 minutes until it's cooked all the way through. Wow, that is potent. That is delicious. Okay, so everything is nicely sauteed together. Let's add the liquid. And give this mix a stir. You want that cornstarch mixed in when you add it to this. And if you like things really, really brothy, then you can certainly add more broth, and other ingredients. You can double the ingredients. If you really love this sauce as much as I do, you can certainly double the ingredients. And while this thickens up a little bit, and I will stir it occasionally, I'm just going to give my chicken another flip. Okay, so you can see the onion and herb mix is nice and thick. That's a nice thick sauce. So I'm going to take that off the heat. And here's our second round of chicken all browned up. And if you want, you can cut into some of the thicker pieces just to make sure they're cooked all the way through, that you don't see any pink at all. And that's a good sign. And I'm just adding the rest of the chicken back in with it. I turned the heat down to a quarter heat, and here's where you have an option. You can either take this chicken and spoon the mushroom and shallot and celery mix. You can spoon that onto individual servings on a plate, or you can just add it right to the chicken. And the reason I like to add it to the chicken is I love all of these flavors to meld together. I just find they meld together better if they're heated together. So again, that's totally up to you. I just love it like this. And what I'm going to do is just heat these all together for an additional 5 minutes. And that just gives the mushroom, garlic, shallots, celery, herb mix time to really work into the chicken. But again, if you want to just spoon it out per serving, you can too. And if you want, you can double the amount of mushroom mix. That's totally up to you. However you want to do it to your taste. But this is how I like to show you how to make it the first time. And man, is it tasty. So congratulations, look at what you just made. Chicken cutlets with mushroom and garlic sauce. Oh, it is absolutely delicious. I think you are absolutely going to love this dish. And it was so easy to make, wasn't it? And if you want a printable recipe of this, a free printable recipe, please visit my website, stepbystepchef.com. It'll be right there waiting for you. And what else will be waiting for you is my cookbook, Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. And it has over 100 recipes, and it saves you the time of printing and printing every recipe. It also gives you a great gift opportunity. And beginning cooks and experienced cooks who want to try something new really enjoy this book. So make sure to take a look at that. My name's Larry Richardson. I am your Step-by-Step Chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.